Hi guys, it's Basma and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about priority hours on Cambly. So this is going to be part 2 to the first video that I did, which is all about how to apply to Cambly and my top tips for you. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll link it right above so you can check it out. Now in this video, I'm going to be covering everything specific to priority hours, which I think is the most important part when you're starting out, because that's really where you're going to be putting in your time and energy. Since no one yet knows you, you don't have a rating, so that's your best bet of starting to land any regular students. Now, what are priority hours? Priority hours are actually where Cambly is going to direct calls to you in order for you to get a head start, in order to start building your regular base of students and start making money right off the bat with Cambly. Now, this is different from the reservation system, because the reservation system is where you're going to be able to open up availabilities in advance and your students can start to book you. Your schedule is going to be planned and you're going to know who exactly the student is that you're dealing with, where you've left off, what they want to discuss, what they want to work on, and it's just more of a schedule that you have control of, because you're going to know exactly the amount of time that you need to work. And that's ultimately the goal that you're working towards, is reservation system, because then you can fill up your hours to your liking and start making the amount of money that you want to be making with Cambly. Now, if you want to see more videos related to Cambly, hit that like and subscribe button down below, and let's get right into the video. So the cool thing about priority hours is that 24 hours a day are open to you. And this really changes the game, because no matter where you are in the world, or when you do decide to travel, then you're going to be able to adapt your schedule to whatever time zone you're in, so that you can continue to work if you want to while you're even on vacation or traveling. Now, I do want to mention that not every priority hour is equivalent to the next. You might make next to no money on some priority hours, or make the complete amount of money, $10.20 USD, on other calls. So what that means is that some priority hours are for sure going to be busier than others, whereas other hours are going to have sparse calls. You might have a lot of waiting time, and you're really going to have to fill up that hour with either TV, any extra work that you want to do. You're only going to learn that with the more priority hours that you start to book. Some things to keep in mind when you're dealing with priority hours is that you're always going to be paid per talking minute. So even if you're on a call from 2 to 3 p.m., that does not mean that you're going to be paid for the full 60 minutes that you're there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You will, however, be paid for a minimum of 15 minutes. So whether or not a student calls you, you can be assured that you will be paid for 15 minutes. So that's cool, especially if you don't get any calls. You know that you're actually going to be making the minimum of 15 minutes. Now, sometimes you will see a little tag on the priority hour that has a 30 in it, and this just means that Cambly doesn't have as many tutors for the priority hours as they would need. They are encouraging you to book that priority hour. Whether or not a student calls you on that priority hours, we will pay you for 30 minutes talking time. That's another way that you can make extra money whenever that you see that tag on any priority hour and you're available. And you really can be able to book until the last minute before your priority hour. So in case you're wanting extra hours and an hour of your day frees up and you're like, hey, let me take some calls, make some extra money, meet some new students, then you can also do that with priority hours, since it is open to you 24 hours a day, and there's really not a minimum of time that you have to book a priority hour in advance. Another cool thing about priority hours is that you will get a 5-minute break per hour. So you always have the opportunity to pause your call for 5 minutes, whether you need a bathroom, a water, a snack break, whatever it may be. You have that opportunity to do so, and you also have the opportunity not to take your break at all. It's going to be super clear to you on your priority hour how to just click that pause button and go on your break. Now I'm going to log into my Cambly account and really show you how this is done on the platform, especially if you're starting out new and you're not really sure how to use the platform. I want it to be as simple as possible, and I'll be showing you how I approach the platform. Now, Cambly does say that it runs best on Chrome, so if you have Chrome, use that and Cambly will work best there for you. First thing that you want to do is you just want to log into your account. You're going to see that you're on the student side. If I click on the little icon that has my face on it, you're going to see it says switch role as student next to it. So this is cool because Cambly actually allows you to have both sides to the platform. So this student side is where if you have seen a tutor maybe potentially online or on the Cambly website that you feel stands out to you, then you can book a free 15-minute call with them and ask all your questions to them. So Cambly offers that to you, and this is where you would actually do it. It would be on the student side of the platform. What I do is I'll click on switch role and I'll click on tutor. And what this does is it switches me right to the tutor side of the platform. Now, as you can see, you have 5 tabs up above. We have dashboard, priority hours, reservations, library, and history. I'm mostly going to focus on dashboard, priority hours, library, and a little bit of history. So let's start with priority hours because that's essentially where you're going to be focusing all your time and energy. Okay, so as you can see here, all these time slots are priority hours, and the nice thing is that you can see from now until 3 weeks in advance. So if you want to book any priority hours in advance, you can do so right here. Once you actually click on the priority hour that works for you, it will go black, and you can see that right here. It says my priority hours, so all your priority hours are going to go black so that it's super clear for you to know what hours you booked. You can also adjust in your settings right here where it says time zone so that you don't mess up with the time zones, especially if you're going to be traveling anytime soon. You can really adjust your time zone there. Another thing to note is if you do want more information, Cambly makes it clear as day here with a little icon that what are priority hours. You can click on that and get some more information about what priority hours are in case you do want some more info. Now, let's say you chose a priority hour. How are you actually going to differentiate between a student that has a subscription with Cambly and a student that's a trial student with Cambly? And what is the actual difference between both? So a trial student with Cambly on a priority hour is only going to be a 5-minute call. That's how you can easily identify them, and they will potentially subscribe with Cambly's membership. Any call that's longer than 5 minutes is a student that has a subscription with Cambly. Now, I know a question that many of you had was the actual cancellation policy. So cancellation is super flexible with Cambly. However, with priority hours, it is encouraged that you cancel with a minimum of 12 hours in advance. I have canceled several times though with less than 12 hours, and I have gotten like a notice that you shouldn't cancel too much, but I have never dealt with any negative consequences. But I will point out the only time that I saw that I was limited in my priority hours was actually when my rating dropped a little bit at the beginning and there were too many tutors on the Cambly website. So I didn't actually know how ratings worked on Cambly at the beginning, and I still don't give it too much importance because I'm mainly dealing with my regular students. But if you do see that your priority hours are limiting, it probably has to do something with either cancellation policy or your rating. Now, let's say you've booked some priority hours and you want to know what is scheduled for the day of. You can click on your dashboard. The first thing that pops up is actually an IT test. So Cambly does this whenever you log in again for the first time. What this is just going to run quickly to make sure everything's working for your calls. So I'm going to run through this test so that you can see. I sometimes have to do this test several times just because I do get impatient, but this really does depend on the speed of your computer. So if you don't pass the test, it's going to just bring you back to the test. You'll just redo it until you're able to enter into your dashboard. On your dashboard, you're going to be able to see that there's an invisible and visible sign. What's going to happen on your priority hour is that sign is automatically going to switch on, showing students that you are visible, and whoever wants to call you can call you, or Cambly will direct calls to you. You're actually going to be able to see everything that you have for the day of and for the week. So if you have any reservations or priority hours booked, you're going to be able to see them there. So in dashboard is actually where you're going to be able to take your 5-minute pause in your priority hour as well. So if you do want to pause, that's where it's going to show up for you. Clear as day, it stays there for the entire priority hour. Now, I do want to note, when you're on priority hour, a lot of messages might come into you. That's usually what happens when I'm on my priority hour. And it's oftentimes trial students that are not really serious about signing up with Cambly. You can easily tell them apart from more serious students. I was at first responding to all of them, but these are not students that want to sign up with Cambly. They just want to talk to someone. I oftentimes ignore them unless they show up in the paid section, because that means that the student does already have a subscription with Cambly, and then I'll know that they're serious there. So that's an opportunity for you to quickly differentiate. Sometimes you're gonna get that rare exception that is super serious and it's not paid, and that's gonna show up in your messages. But generally speaking, I do ignore most messages when I'm on my priority hour and they're showing up, unless I've seen the name before or it really does look like someone's serious about signing up with Cambly. If you're feeling anxious or nervous about starting with Cambly, that this is super normal and that you will quickly adapt to the platform, so don't worry about that, even if you're a beginner. I know I felt even more nervous about starting with Cambly because I knew that it was more unstructured, and I was always wondering, like, what am I going to talk about with the student? What if I run out of subjects? And if that's a worry of yours, then here are my top tips for you. Some questions that you can ask the student to get the ball rolling conversation, especially if you're an introvert and you're not really sure where to start. So I often start with how to actually pronounce their name, where are they calling from, why are they learning English, and how they would like to be corrected. So some students will have a preference. They might like to be corrected after every single mistake, or only after a serious mistake, or just at the end of the call. It's cool if you can ask that at the beginning, because you'll really be able to deliver what the student is expecting from you without wondering, am I doing it right? Am I correcting too much? Am I correcting too little? It just gets it out of the way and makes it clear from the beginning, so that the student leaves satisfied. Another thing is you can always look up ESL beginner conversation starters. That's what I was doing. I'll just search that up in Google, conversation starters, just in case that you end up speaking to a student who's maybe not so talkative and you need some conversation starters. You can always look there. In the Cambly library, there are also two that I generally turn to. They're called Basic Conversation Topics or English Conversation 101, and you can easily adjust the question depending on the level of the student to make it more difficult or easier. So don't worry, you're really gonna get used to making conversation on the fly quite quickly. And most importantly, just focus on letting the students speak, because that's where they're gonna see the most improvement. So really taking the time, being patient, and letting the students speak is really gonna help them out. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video all about the reservation system, and I'll answer any of the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching.